Hello everybody and welcome back to what I'm delighted to tell you is yet another sunny day in Yorkshire, says she as the sun goes behind a cloud. Anyway, no, it is really sunny, I promise. I am really pleased to see the sun because we've had consistent sun now for the last 3 days, and if the weather forecast is anything to be believed, I am expecting sunshine for the next week. Hurrah! Which is great because before certainly the last 3 days where everything seems to be catching up a little bit more, the flowers here have been running about 2 weeks behind where I'd expect them to be at the minute. And that's not just in the polytunnel, that's outside as well. Even the Narcissus and Daffodils just haven't been playing ball, which has caused me a little bit of panic, I'll be honest. I don't know why I get so stressed at this time of year about when the flowers are going to start to come, because I know they always do, and I know every year is different in terms of growing and weather and when things come into bloom. It's about, you know, you're running, I expect to run at about a 2 to 3 week discrepancy window, let's call it. That sounds official. But that's just the only way I could think of describing it. And so flowers generally, I can sort of predict them, and there's an average within that as well, and they're just right at the cusp this year of making me on the brink of, like I say, panic. Anyway, they're here now. I haven't got masses of flowers. I have got some anemones, as you see here. I've got some Hellebores, I've got some Narcissus, and I have got some Blossom. The wallflowers there on that side of me are just sat in bud at the minute, but I expect them to be in flower in the next couple of days. Now, what I'm doing in today's video is letting you into a bit of a flower farming secret, and that is, no matter how many customers you have, how many floral commitments you have, there will be one day in the week where you'll have flowers on your flower farm or in your garden or wherever you're growing if you're not a flower farmer, and if you are a flower farmer, they just won't have been the right colour for your customers or the jobs that you had on that week, or you will end up with flowers with a slight nibble in the petals because some little caterpillars got hungry or something, or they'll be slightly short and you just can't sell them to anyone else. These are the flowers that I take home because I just don't want that flower to feel like it's put all of its effort into doing its thing, and just because the caterpillars come and had a munch, it's not going to get its moment of glory. So today we're going to give a few flowers that didn't make the grade this week or are in flower now and are going to be too far gone for the next time I need to pick flowers in 3 days. So we're going to pick some flowers, and the reason that I'm going to do this and create something pretty is not just because I want to create a bowl of pretty flowers, even though that is part of the reason, I will be honest. I want to also dispel some of the myths behind a couple of the spring flowers. Myth number one that I hear quite a lot is that the flower police, whoever they are, tell you that you can't mix Narcissus and Daffodils with other flowers in an arrangement. There is a reason that people say this, and the reason is justified, but I will show you the reason people say it, and I'll also show you a way around it, so it means that you can mix Narcissus and Daffodils into your arrangements, because I do, and I do it all the time. Well, only in spring when they're in flower, but you know what I mean. And the other flower that I want to talk to you about is Hellebours. Hellebours get a bit of a bad press about their conditioning process. They don't get bad press about their beauty. I think no one can deny Hellebours are absolutely gorgeous. But a lot of people say you can't get them to condition properly, they don't last well, they wilt, you know, they go over on themselves. There is, again, a reason that this could happen, which I'll share with you when we come to look at the Hellebours, and there is a way around it as well. So we're going to pick some flowers and create something pretty. Now, first things first, one thing that I always use, you can't see in there, but I always pick straight into water. I don't walk around with a trug or, you know, anything, a basket or anything, you know, pretty and things like that, I just walk around with a bucket of water, because it is the best thing for the flowers. Pick them and put them straight into water. The longer they're out of water, the less happy they're going to be. So all my flowers go into a very unglamorous bucket, clean, must stress, really, really clean bucket with fresh water in it, and a good pair of sharp snips. And that's simply all that I take around with me to cut the flowers. So let's get picking some anemones, and then we'll go out and get some Narcissus and probably some Fritillaria along the way as well, and create something with them. We are right down in amongst this lovely variety of an anemone called Anemone the Bride. And the reason that we're down here is because I've found 4 flowers right next to each other. This is not a setup, this is just coincidence that highlight the different stages of development of an anemone flower. So this one here that I'm holding on to is the anemone in bud. Then this one here is what I would class as the perfect picking stage. This one here is started to go over, and this one here you'd be lucky to get about a day's worth of vase life out of it before it becomes confetti. The way to judge this is you can normally judge slightly by the colour of the petals. As you can see, that one's just like really fresh looking, and then these ones here, the petals, you can't really see it on the camera, but as they age they start to become a little bit more opaque. And the other thing to look at is the centres of the flowers as well, generally. This one here, its stamens are still very tight in the middle, and because this flower here has been pollinated, all of its stamens are very spread out and open, and that tells me that this flower's a lot older than this flower. Sorry, that was a bit of bad camera work, but they're the things that you want to be looking at with anemones. So a few weeks ago when I did the show around in the tunnel here, I showed you a pretty bare crate and said that it had snakehead fritillarias in. And I also said that when they start to come, they start to flower quite quickly. And that's where they're at the minute, so let's get a few of these. So now we move on to Narcissus, or in this case Daffodils. This is Daffodil replete here. Now this one has been left in the field because something's had a bit of a nibble of its flower petals, so that's why this one's still here. Now when they reach this stage, this is it fully out, and at that stage there you probably get about 3 days vase life, I'd say, out of it. So you need to pick dependent on what you need the flowers for and how long you need them to last. So we'll pick this one because we for our purposes today it doesn't matter that it's already out and doing its thing, but if you were picking for longevity, then these breaking buds here, not Breaking Bad, that's a programme on the telly, breaking buds are what you want to be picking the stage at, because within a day in your house that's going to start to open to the flower, and then that means that you will get to enjoy the flower rather than it being halfway over when you take it into your house. So we're going to pick a few of these, and then I'm going to show you what happens when you pick daffodils and narcissus and why people say you can't mix them. Okay, so these are some freshly picked daffodils now. So the reason people tell you you can't mix daffodils and narcissus with any other flower in a floral arrangement is because of this. Now be warned, this is where it gets a bit gross. See if you can get it in focus. Is because when they're freshly picked, they actually excrete like a sappy, there you can see it between my fingers, a sappy substance from the bottom of the stem. Now what this sticky sap does is, if you mix in these flowers with any other flower like your anemone flowers, that sap will go into the water, which then is getting drunk by this anemone. Now, anemones and any other flowers apart from Narcissus can't deal with this sap, and it'll clog up the stem, and then this flower won't be able to drink. So it's not going to be good for the other stems. But what this actually is this, imagine it's like a cut on your finger. You've cut your finger, and this is kind of like, again, pretty gross, but like the flower blood, basically. Now, what happens when you cut your finger is eventually it starts to scab over. Again, gross. I told you it was going to get disgusting, but it's the only way that I can think of describing it to you. So it scabs over, doesn't it? And then it stops bleeding. So what you want to do is, if you're going to make a mixed arrangement with Narcissus and Daffodils, is when I pick all mine, I'll start to, dependent on what size vessel I know that I'm going to be putting these in, is I will actually cut these at various different heights that I think I might need the flower to be at. And then I put all of my Narcissus and Daffodils into their own water container. So I don't put them in the bucket with the other flowers. These guys will all go into a separate container, and then even though it's in water, they will heal and they'll stop producing that sap from the stems, and then you can mix them in with the other flowers. But you need to leave them to condition for 12 hours away from any other flower. I told you there was a way around it. So the other flowers that I wanted to talk to you about are Hellebores, these guys here. Now, this is a flower that I actually admitted this week is my favourite flower of all time. Not in terms of just this variety, I mean all Hellebores. I absolutely love them. And it's not just because they're in season. I've always loved Hellebores. There's so many colours and so many to collect. I just think they're gorgeous. Now, people can say that Hellebores are very difficult to condition and they wilt and drop quite easy. The things that you want to be looking for to stop them doing that are the seed pods. If you can see just in the centre of this one here, that is it starting to produce its seed pod. The more mature the flower, the easier and better it will condition. This one here is just starting as well in the middle. And the other process that I do to condition Hellebores is a hot water dip for them. So we'll pick a few Hellebores now and I'll show you what I do to get them to condition. Okay, so we are now back in the studio. We've picked our Hellebores, and the reason that we're down here before we put these in water is that they need a special conditioning process. So this is a heat-proof bowl here, and I've just boiled the kettle and it has got boiled water in it. And then I'm putting the stems 2 centimetres down into the water, and you might be able to see, if I can get the camera close enough, what that's doing there is the boiled water is pulling out air which is in the stems of the Hellebores. Now it's these air pockets that stop the stem from being able to condition properly. So the hot water acts by pulling the air out the bottom of the stem, and then you end up with a little bubble bath going on. Now, if you notice, what I'm doing with the stems is I'm holding them off to the side of the bowl. I'm not holding them directly out the top of the bowl like that, because what that'll do is then it'll give your flowers a sauna, and Hellebores, well, no flowers in fact, like a steam. So I'm holding the flowers out to the side, and my bubbles have stopped now. Yeah, have they stopped yet? They've stopped now. So they come straight out of there and then go up to their necks in a bucket of cold water, and that is where they will condition. Right, so we've got all our flowers in from the field now, and they're all conditioning in their own little unique way. Daffodils in their separate container down here from anything else. The Hellebores have had their hot water dip or hot water bath in the bottom of their stems, and they're now going to drink up to their necks in cold water for the next 12 hours. Added to that, I have got Spirea, which is my favourite shrub to use at this time of year, and I've also got some ornamental prunus there, some blossom. Now what I do with blossom is I pick it before it comes into flower on the tree. even before sometimes you can see any colour bud whatsoever. So then I bring it into my house, keep wafting that in front of my face, then I bring it into my house and the slight temperature increase, I don't put it directly next to a radiator or anything like that, or an auger or anything, just the temperature increase of bringing it from the outside in on an evening, particularly because it doesn't, you know, drop to -4 in my house generally, then it brings the blossom into flower, and I find that it lasts a lot better if it's a blossom that I brought into flower rather than leaving it out on a tree, because then I'm never sure how long it's been in flower for, and that's just a way that I've found over the years that blossom lasts longer in my arrangements if I bring it in. So all these flowers and shrubs and bits of tree are going to be moved away from this window because we condition over that side of the studio, and I'll drop the blind as well. The radiator doesn't go on in this room, so they're never getting hot, they're never going to get direct sunlight, and then I'm going to leave them for 12 hours before I do anything with them, at which point then we're going to arrange them into this bowl, and inside that bowl I have got a pin frog there, and I've also got chicken wire, and the chicken wire I push on top of the pin frog, and the pin frog I tend to find holds that in place there, unless I'm putting in really heavy branches or something, in which case you might feel the need to put some string wire or floral tape across the top to make sure that's held in. But I tend to find that I just, shall we say, negotiate the metal from the chicken wire down onto those pins. You have to be careful with your fingers, so that's one thing I would say. And then I put cold water in, and that is how I will arrange and what I will arrange into. So let's come back in 12 hours when these guys have had a good long drink. Right, there we have it, spring in a bowl. Now I know the lighting is getting a bit dark for you to see what this looks like now. I apologise for that, I sort of overran a little bit. I'm going to take it through to a different room and take some pictures of it so you can see what it looks like in a half decent light, because I think that might be helpful. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and you've learned something about the conditioning process of a few of the spring flowers that you could use at this time of year. If you would like to join me next week, that would be fab. It will be very different to this because I've got a sweet pea trellis to build, and I'm going to take you through the building process of the sweet pea trellis and explain to you why I've chosen to put it where I've chosen to put the sweet peas this year. And you can come along and watch me with a saw and a drill and tying up sweet peas. Anyway, let's hope it's a bit more exciting than that, but it is one of the jobs that I need to do, so it'd be great if you join me next time, and thank you again for watching. See ya, bye!